This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. Tonight we're going to speak about the Haggada. Thank you everybody for joining, but I just want you to know the main Haggada show will be next week. So if you came this week, you for sure have to come next week. And also want to take the opportunity to invite everyone to Shabbos Haggada Drasha, which is 60 minutes before Mincha. So if you live in Brooklyn, you're Pater. But if you live, let's say, 50 minutes away, I don't know, I might make you come, you know. Queens? Yeah. Well, now that you're asking, I would say yeah. Chayev is very strong. You know, so I want to invite everybody to Shabbos Haggada Drasha, 60 minutes before Mincha. The Shiurim on Sefer Vayikra, and tonight's share as well, sponsored by Dr. Zakheim, Umishpachto, Lenishmas Rishon Eliezer ben Rav Yaakov Zakheim, and Le'ila Nishmas, Dr. Zakheim's mother, Rivka Bas Tuvia Halevi, and Rishon should have an aliyah, be Melitza Yisham for their whole family, Ad Bias Gal Tzedek. Tonight's shir is sponsored by a very dear friend of mine, Reb Eli Sizma, who's been coming to Shiurim be'erach 10 years, when they started in Queens, and then in all the various masois and mekaimos. And Tzli Nishmas, Eli's father, whose yahrzeit is this Shabbos, second yahrzeit, Shabbos, Ches, Nisan, Reb Shevach, Shabsi, ben Reb Yaakov Aryeh, Sasham Shavan Aliyah, Began Eden, Tehemnu Chasai, should be a Melitz Yosher for his whole family, for Simchas Nachas B'suras Toivos, Ad Bias Gal Tzedek. Tonight's share is also sponsored anonymously as a zechus for the family of Rabbi Huda Leib ben Shmuel Chaim. Hashem Shemi Yivarach them with bracha v'hatzlacha. Okay, so tonight we're going to deal with a very interesting question. It sounds like a good question, and it would seem to be a very good question. The question is raised most clearly by Rav Meir Dan Palatsky, the Kli Chemda, Talmud of the Avnei Nezer. If you were to ask who is the main character of the Pesach story, Yetzias Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu. So you'd expect Moshe, to appear all over the Haggada. You know, Moshe brought the dam, and he brought the tzvardeya and the kinim, and he said to Paro, let my people go, and Paro said, not a chance. And Moshe said, we're going to send frogs into your ovens, and Moshe said, we're going to send wild animals into your house. We'd expect Moshe to have a big part in the Haggada. Shnei luchos habriz shehoyred Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, I could find a good couple dozen places where Moshe Rabbeinu's name should appear, and lo and behold, we have Lavan in the Haggada. Lavan's like a main character in the Haggada. Even Terach is in the Haggada. I mean, the whole year we don't say Terach one time. You could flip through your Siddur. It's 1,000 pages. Terach does not appear. I don't care, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Hasidish. Terach is not in there. You don't say Elekei Abraham, Elekei Yid, Elekei Terach. He's not in there in the V'lam Mashid with the good guys. He's not in there with the bad guys. All of a sudden, the night of the Seder, we find all these characters: Lavan, Terach. I don't know. Even Yehoshua ben Nun makes an appearance. Tanoim, Amaram, Hillel's in there. Reb Elazar ben Azariah, and Gamliel, Reb Tarfon. They're all in there. Moshe Rabbeinu, he ain't there. Haloi Davarhu, the main character of the whole story, is not there. Imagine if in Megillah Esther, she's not in the Megillah. Mordechai's not in the Megillah. What happened to Moshe Rabbeinu? This is the kasha of the Kli Chemda, Rav Meir Dan Palatsky. He says, Chacham echad sha'alani al anshe knesses hagdoila shetiknu seder Haggada shophat. Now this is very interesting. Who wrote the Haggada? Now this is not the first time I ever gave a share on the Haggada, and I thought I found this big mitzvah that there's like, in one of the Torah we talk about the author of the Haggada. Bez Hashem, next week we're going to speak about the authorship of Haggada Shabesach. Anybody know who wrote it? At least 6 different Perushim. And as of a week ago, I only knew one. Okay? But anyway, Moshe Rabbeinu, he ain't in the Haggada. Why not? Misha koirei kol Haggada ala seder. In other words, let's say a guy landed from outer space and he wanted to know what happened, what are you guys doing on Pesach? So we give him the Haggada. He wouldn't know that there's someone called Moshe Rabbeinu. What's going on over here? Now the truth is, it's not such a great question, because Moshe is in the Haggada. I always knew this kasha, so I thought, oh, it's a great kasha. He is in the Haggada. That's the, and the question is, why isn't Moshe in the Haggada? The answer is, this, you didn't expect this answer. The answer is, he is. He is in the Haggada. And now we could all go home, have a great night, get some extra sleep before Pesach. Anybody know where in the Haggada he is? What? Vayaminu b'Hashem. Rabbi Yossi Haglili in number 24. Minayin ata oimer shaloku hamitzvah tzar meser makos ayom loku chamisha makos b'mitzrayim ma'u oimer vayirach hartumim l'paro yetzvel lekimi vayom ma'u oimer vayar Yisrael sayir agdoy vayaminu b'Hashem uv'Moshe avdoi. Now this is the most misinterpreted pasuk in the whole Torah, because most people think it means, and they believed in God and they believed in Moshe. Chas v'shalom, they believed in Moshe. Moshe is a... What do you mean they believed in him? Moshe is not a god. So what does it mean? Vayaminu b'Hashem uveMoshe avdai. But that's where Moshe Rabbeinu appears in the Haggada. So let us begin with the comments of the Vilna Gaon. In the Hagra's commentary to the Haggada, actually this is the commentary found in the Siddur Hagra on the Piska, on the chapter that says, Vayotzienu Hashem miMitzrayim, God took us out of Egypt. Lo al yedei malach. V'lo al yedei shliach, ela HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvoidoi uveyatzmai. What does it mean God took us out with His honor and with Himself? What does that mean? B'chvoidoi uveyatzmai. You know, somebody comes, oh, you came, b'chvoidoi uveyatzmai. What does that mean, b'chvoidoi uveyatzmai? Shenemar, v'yavarti b'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh, v'hikesi kol b'chor eretz Mitzrayim me'yadam v'abehema, says the commentary of the Gaon that the revelation that Hashem revealed Himself in Mitzrayim was through Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Why Moshe? Because Moshe didn't take any kavod for himself. Moshe lowered himself. Moshe Rabbeinu was so self-effacing that everything that he did, he was, it ain't me. It's Rebbeinu Shalom. Moshe Rabbeinu was transparent. That's why when Hashem called Moshe, it's Moshe, Moshe. Rav Chaim Volozhiner writes, without a psik. By Abraham, God called him Abraham, psik, Abraham. By Abraham was very humble. Nobody was ever as humble as Abraham, but still Abraham was an entity. Abraham was he existed. So therefore, there was some separation between the physical Abraham and the Avraham on high. Moshe Rabbeinu was such a non-entity that he was transparent. He was clear. There was no hefsek whatsoever. When Moshe Rabbeinu performed anything, it was apparent through the efforts of Moshe that this is the work of Hashem. And what is Moshe? Moshe said, I just work, I'm just the Eved. I'm an Eved. Moshe Rabbeinu said, oh wow, Moshe, nice makkah. No, it's not me. I'm an Eved. I'm just working. I just work here. I'm just doing the job of Hashem. This is what it means that God did everything b'chvoidoi uve'atzmai. There was no lack of kavod on Hashem's part. There was no lack of atzmai on Hashem's part. Because Moshe Rabbeinu attributed everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, directed everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, in the entire discussion of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Moshe's name is not mentioned. Why? Because we don't. Moshe Rabbeinu did not want anyone to share in the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Moshe Rabbeinu did not want any of the praise. As we know, Kol HaMeshatev Davar Acher MaKadosh Baruch Hu Nekar Min Ha'olam. Therefore, you ready for the meaning of the pasuk? Vayaminu b'Hashem, they believed in God. Uve Moshe Avdoi, and they acknowledged Moshe was just a servant like everybody else. That Moshe Rabbeinu was one of them. In other words, there was no hierarchy. There's God, there's Moshe, and there's the people. That Moshe Rabbeinu made it, that Vayaminu only b'Hashem, and that Moshe was an Eved, and therefore Oz, Yashir, Moshe, Uvenei Yisrael, they all sang together equally. They're all exactly equal. Moshe Rabbeinu made it that he's exactly equal to the people. And this is what it means. God performed the events of the Yetzias Mitzrayim b'chvoidoi u'v'yatzmai. All the kavod, all the gvura, all the credit, all the attention belonged solely to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, in the context of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Moshe's Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned, because that's what Moshe Rabbeinu attempted to accomplish, that everyone should be focused solely on the kavod and the activities of HaKadosh Baruch Hu without any other source of attention. Now, we're going to talk tonight about this midah, the midah of Moshe Rabbeinu, that made him eligible to be the goyel of Klal Yisrael. What brings Geula L'Olam? The Gemara says in Megillah, and it's Mishnah Avos, Parak Vav Mishnah Vav, Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrei, mevi Geula L'Olam. I have a good joke on this, but I have to use it for the Shabbos Haggada. But Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrei, mevi Geula L'Olam. Why? Why? Why, if you quote somebody, in other words, I could say over here, oh, you want to hear a good chiddush? Now, I heard it from some big Rav somewhere. It was his chiddush. But I'm not going to tell you that. So I'm going to say it over, and make believe it's mine. No, that's a bad midah. Chazal criticize that. You need to attribute your sources. Why? If you do, you're going to bring the Geula L'Olam. Ask the Maral. We know everything Hashem does is quid pro quo, midah keneged midah. So why is it that if you imagine, would you have thought, of all the good things out there that bring Geula L'Olam, it could have said, somebody who has avas chinam, maybe Geula L'Olam. No. If you quote your sources, it's maybe Geula L'Olam. Why? What's so special about that? Furthermore, we know, what's the source that Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrei maybe Geula L'Olam? From Esther. Esther told Achashverosh, hey Achashverosh, I like you, you're my husband, I don't want you to die, but it's not me. I'm not the one who discovered the plot, it's him, Mordechai. And we know through that sequence of events, redemption occurred. Says Maral, who says that was the reason? Maybe it's because Mordechai said Tikkun Chatzos every night. Maybe it's because Mordechai, he did Chesed every day. Maybe it's because Mordechai reviewed Mishnayos, 3 Mishnayos a day. How do you know what was the reason that brought Geula L'Olam? Yes, Esther said it in the name of Mordechai. And ultimately, that was written in the Sefer HaZachronos, and Mordechai was rewarded. But who says that was the zchus that brought Geula L'Olam? Comes the Maral, and Maral says, the main objective of God bringing Geula L'Olam is that people should recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Redeemer. Right? Because let's say in Mitzrayim, it keeps on saying, Laman Teda Ki Ani Hashem, Laman Teda Ki Ani Hashem. The whole purpose of Geula is Hashem is trying to demonstrate and manifest His power. So if you don't recognize His power, then the whole point, the Geula is pointless. So if the point of Geula is that people should recognize it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the most important midah required to be instrumental in bringing Geula to Klal Yisrael is the midah of attribution. Meaning, if you're going to help and save the Jewish people, and people are going to say, "Oh, Esther, great job! We really appreciate what you did," and Esther says, "Yeah, I've been practicing my whole life to redeem the Jewish people. You don't know how long I've been studying and how much hard work I put into it. I really appreciate that you appreciate me." Then nobody's going to recognize what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did. So the most important midah that is necessary to be worthy, to be the instrument with which HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings Geula, is that if anybody says to you, "Good job," you say, "Biladai, it ain't me. I'm not doing anything. It's the Ribono Shel Olam. I didn't do anything. I'm just a shliach." So how do we know? How can we determine what's the barometer? Is somebody eligible to bring redemption to the Jewish people? The midah is if you quote your sources. If when you say something over, you say, "It's not me, it's them." So you're not looking to take credit for something that doesn't belong to you. So then if God brings redemption, you're not going to say, "Oh yeah, look what I did." You're going to say, "Ein lanu mela goyel ela atus," the Ribono Shel Olam. So the fact that Esther, when Achashverosh said, "Thank you very much," she said, "It's not me, it's him." So Hashem, that's the kind of person I'm looking for, because if I bring Geula through her, she's not going to say it's me, she's going to attribute it to the Ribono Shel Olam. Says Maral, this answers a very important question. There are many people who say Divrei Torah and they quote sources and they don't bring any redemption to nobody. So the Gemara says, Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amra mevi gula olam. It says Maral, it's not that by saying where you got something from, you will bring geula. No guarantees. It's that if you have this midah, then when the Rebbeinu Shalom chooses to bring redemption, you will be a worthy candidate to be that instrument, but not that in the merit of doing that you will bring redemption to the world. So this is the midah that we see by Esther, and in that zuchur she was zocheh to be the instrument to save Klal Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not in the Haggada because Moshe Rabbeinu attributed everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's likely the reason why when the Rebbe Shalom chose to redeem us, he utilized Moshe Rabbeinu.
Who says that?
Kol ha'omer davar. Good question. I don't know. So let's examine this midah a little bit. Moshe Rabbeinu ran away to Midian. And he comes to the well, and there's 7 daughters of Yisrael are being attacked at the well. And Moshe Rabbeinu saves them, and they come home to their dad. And Dad Reuel says, Ma'adu mihartem b'hayom? How'd you get back here so quickly? You always have problems at the well. And she said, today something happened. Ish Mitzri hitzilani, an Egyptian saved us. So the Medrash asks, Moshe was an Egyptian, he was Jewish. That's insulting if you call a Jew, North Korean, let's say. It's insulting. So why is she calling Moshe Egyptian? Says the Medrash, Mashal l'mahadavar daima. There was a guy, he got bit by a snake, a scorpion. His foot was swelling. He was in such pain. So he goes running into the river to bathe his foot. And lo and behold, there's a kid drowning. And he saves the kid. The kid says, thank you. He says, not me. Thank the scorpion. Thank the scorpion. I didn't save you. The scorpion saved you. So too, Moshe killed a Mitzri. Dasan Ma'aviram saw. They got into a fight. Moshe gives them Musar. They said, who do you think you are? Are you going to kill us also? They went to tattle on Moshe. Moshe ran away. So who saved them? Moshe ran away. He sees the daughters of Reuel being molested. So Moshe saves them. So she says to him, thank you. He says, not me. It's the Egyptian I killed. I have a question. Answer Matasio Solomon Zolgazonsain. Does that even make sense? Did Moshe mean, thank the Egyptian that I murdered and buried in the sand? What did the Egyptian do? The Egyptian didn't do anything. It was very nice of him to, what should she do? She should go to his grave and say a vigil. Thank you, soul of the Egyptian, for being murdered through Moses, because of you, now I was saved. I mean, what does that mean? Should somebody who is bitten, somebody who is saved, go thank the snake who bit the lifeguard's foot? What exactly does this medrash mean? Says Ramatasiel Solomon, the meaning of this medrash is very simple. Moshe Rabbeinu could not understand, why did God make it that he should have to kill an Egyptian, and that somebody should see, and he should have to give them Musar, and they would say, they would call them out, they would tattle on Moshe, and then Moshe ran away to Midian. He doesn't want to be in Midian. Moshe said to himself, I could not understand why that happened. But now I see God put me in this situation to be able to help somebody. So is it because of me that I'm in Midian? Moshe said, no. The Ribbon Shalom used me as his vehicle and instrument. He took me from this point A, he brought me to Midian so that I could help someone. So I really didn't do anything. I'm just a pawn in the hand of Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu always attributed anything he did that he's merely the conduit and the instrument and the vehicle in the hands of Hashem, which means Moshe Rabbeinu had the ultimate level of the midah of Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amroi mevi geula l'olam. Moshe didn't attribute anything to himself, even though Moshe Rabbeinu risked his life to save these Midianite girls. Moshe Rabbeinu put his life in jeopardy, put his life in peril. But Moshe Rabbeinu recognized, why would God put him in that situation? Moshe said, I'm just a pawn in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore Moshe had the midah of Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrai in the greatest possible fashion, and therefore he was zoicha to be the vehicle which brought Geula La'olam. It's very interesting. You remember the angels? Yaakov Avinu has a dream, and what does he see in the dream? No?
Ladders.
A ladder, a sulam. And there are angels going up the ladder. Why are the angels going up the ladder? Why are angels climbing a ladder? I mean, you ever go to a department store? You see angels going up ladders? You see them going down? Why were the angels going up the ladder? Who are these angels? So the Tosfos brings these angels, and next question. They're going up the ladder. How'd they get down in the first place? Why are they starting up? First the angels go down, and then they go up. You never bothered by that question? Azriel, where do angels live? Down here in this world or in the heavens?
Depends which one.
No, it doesn't. Well, you have angels living in your house? I mean, you don't know? What?
The Avos and Esau had angels, maybe they...
Yeah, but where do they start? They start...
heaven.
Thank you. So the angels need to go down the ladder. They go down the ladder. Why are these angels going up? Says the Tosfos, these angels were angels that already came down 8 years earlier. These were the angels that were sent to destroy Sodom. But the problem is, they blew it. They said, Ki mashchisim anachnu! We're going to destroy Sodom! God said, we're going to destroy Sodom? We're going to destroy Sodom? You're doing my job. How dare you say, we're going to destroy Sodom? That's it. Get at it. Get lost. You don't come back to heaven. And they were banished for 138 years until the time of Yaakov Avinu. And then in the time of Yaakov Avinu, they were able to get up again. Why 138 years? What do they have to do with Yaakov Avinu? That's beyond the scope of tonight's shir. But they took credit for themselves. Now, Rashi says later, by the way, Rashi says, even though they said, Ki mashchisim anachnu, later on they said to Lot, get out of here, run away! We can't do anything until you go there. Rashi says that was their punishment. They had to be moideh against their will, they have no power. Okay? That's the story.
Wasn't the Malach that visited Avraham Avinu the one that went supposed to go to destroy Sodom?
But the two of them,
One of the three.
they were partners in crime, because the angel that was going to rescue Lloyd also went to Sodom. Okay. Says the Alter of Kelm, he says, he bechlal cannot make heads or tails on these words of Chazal. The angels took credit for themselves? What did they say? Look at number 10. Ki mashchisim anachnu. We're going to destroy. Oh, they took credit for themselves. You want to try reading the next words? Es hamokim hazeh, ki godla tza'akosam es penei Hashem, va'yishalcheinu Hashem l'shachasa. God sent us to destroy it. They didn't take credit. They said, we're hired. God sent us. Yeah, they said, we're going to destroy. But they explained, God sent us. God sent us. So how do they take credit? It's one thing if they would have said, like after the fact, let's say they would have said, we're going to destroy Sodom, and then in the credits afterwards they write in fine print, by the way, really it's not us, it's God. In the 3 words later, they said, God sent us. This is the Kasha, the Alter of Kelm. And the Alter of Kelm, Reb Simcha Zisel Ziv, he says he's matmiya on these words of Chazal. And then something happened to him. He was reading the Sefer HaChinuch of the Ra'ah, and the Sefer HaChinuch begins by saying that, if you ever read the Sefer HaChinuch, he starts off saying, most of what I say comes from the Rishonim. Most of what I say already is written in the Rishonim. Meaning, it's not my stuff. I got it from here, from the Rambam, from other Rishonim. Says the Alter of Kelm, why did the Sefer HaChinuch need to immediately, he opened you start the Sefer, everything I got is from the words of the Rishonim. I mean, you could say maybe at the end of the intro, in the middle of the intro, in the beginning of the first thing the Sefer HaChinuch says is everything in this book I already got from the Rishonim. Says Alter of Kelm, I was nispoil from the tzidkus of the Sefer HaChinuch because he didn't want anyone to hear, let's say something like this. You say over Rabbi Kiva Eger's Kasha on Tosfos, right? And they say, oh, you want to hear a good answer? You say, well, and you give a whole answer. And after like 5 minutes, and people go, oh, wow. So Rabbi Chanan says, so like you sort of let the cat out of the bag. Halfway through, it's Rabbi Chanan. So for a few minutes, people thought this was your brilliant answer. Now you're going to say it's not yours. You're going to say it's somebody else's. But what if you don't say it right away, so then for a few moments you give the impression that, you came up with this great Einfall, with this great, brilliant stroke of genius. So the Sefer HaChinuch did not want to give an impression, even for a millisecond, that these are his own original novel ideas. So he said immediately, before he says, Maidani l'fanecha, he says, by the way, everything in this book came from earlier authorities. Oh, and says Alter of Kelm, and now I understand why the Malachim were punished. Because yes, they said, God sent us, but they said it 3 words later. But when they started, they said, we're going to destroy. So for a split second, they made it sound like they have power. And even though they corrected it immediately, but for their holy level, they took away, they dimmed the glimmer of power that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have been recognized if they would have said, Hashem is destroying. And because they dampened the appreciation of the power of Hashem for a millisecond, they were punished. So where did the Sefer HaChinuch learn that when you're saying something over, you should attribute it immediately and not even let a person have the impression that it's your own? Sefer HaChinuch learned it from the Chazal that criticized the Malachim. Says Rav Matisyahu Solomon, please read inside the words of the Alter of Kelm, the depth and the simplicity, how he was moved and astonished and aroused from how the Sefer HaChinuch immediately lets on that everything he got came from the earlier Rishonim. Now, you ever hear of Moshe Rabbeinu? Did Moshe Rabbeinu ever go to Eretz Yisrael? No. Why not? The rock story. The rock. So, some say he hit the rock. The Rosh says no, there's nothing wrong. He tried to speak to the rock, it didn't go. So he hit the rock. Nothing wrong with hitting the rock, the Rosh. So what did he do wrong? Remember in Parshas Behaloischa, it says, V'ha'ish Moshe anav ma'oid. How do you spell the word anav? Ayin, nun, yud, vav. No, not in the Chumash. It's spelled ayin, nun, vav. Where did the yud go? So the Rosh, in Parshas Chukas, and Parshas Behaloischa, the Rosh says like this. You know why Moshe was punished and he didn't go into Eretz Yisrael? Because he said, Hamin haseh ela hazeh, noitzi lachem oyim. You think we could get, you think from this rock, we will get water out for you. We will get water. Noitzi, we will get water. What did he mean, we? Me, Aaron, and God. Now, did he mean him? No, he means our team. Team God, I'll tell God what you need, and I'll be right back, and He'll give it to you. He didn't mean him. He meant God, but he said we. What should he have said? Yoitzi, he. Now, when that miracle happened, did anybody think that Moshe did it? Everybody knew God did it. But, as Rav Matisyahu Solomon explains, the brilliant appreciation, the light of recognition of Hashem's power was dimmed ever so slightly. When Moshe said, Noitzi, we will do it, he should have said Yoitzi. So he left out a Yud. Oh, you left out a Yud? You're an Onav without a Yud. You lost the Yud. That's what the Rosh says. 2 different Rosh. One in Chukas and one in Leischa. That the reason why Moshe is spelled on. Now, was there ever anyone in history who had the midah of attribution greater than Moshe? No. There was never anyone in history who excelled in being a non-entity vis-a-vis relative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu than Moshe. That's why he took us out of Egypt. Avram couldn't have taken us out of Egypt. Nobody else could have, because nobody else was so self-effacing that Moshe said, I wonder if when Moshe said, V'mayin mecheni na misifrecha, wipe me out of the book. Nobody says, take me out of the Haggada. But Moshe Rabbeinu is not even in the Haggada because he wanted to attribute everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Somebody said, thank you. No, don't thank me. Thank the person I murdered. Meaning, it's not, I'm just, I just work here. But even Moshe Rabbeinu, Lefi Madregasa Harama, he slipped up ever so slightly in this inyan itself. And he wasn't Zeicha to go into Eretz Yisrael. So at this step of the shift, I would ask, why is Moshe not in the Haggada? So it's because it's not a Genai for Moshe, it's his greatest shvach. Because Moshe Rabbeinu directed all attention and all acknowledgement and all recognition to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Here's another angle in the very similar, almost identical, but I think there's a nuance of difference. Chanukah and Purim. Azriel, do you like Chanukah and Purim?
No.
Really? Why? Really? Okay, we'll have to discuss it after the Shiur. But most people like it, Azriel. Okay. On Chanukah we say Al Hanisim. There's a very unusual word in Al Hanisim. The entire Shemona Esrei and all the Tefillah is written in Lashon HaKodesh. There's one word in Al Hanisim that mysteriously is in Aramaic. Al Hanisim V'al HaPorkan. Porkan is Aramaic. What in the world is an Aramaic word doing in Shemona Esrei? This is the question of Rav Soloveitchik. So they should have said, I don't know, what does Porkan mean? Geula, Yeshua. What's an Aramaic word doing in Shemona Esrei? Anshe Chazal lived in the whole Israel. You ever hear of Israel? No.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's in the Middle East. They speak Lashon Kodesh over there.
Speak Aramaic.
They don't. Nah. When the Tefillos were written, they spoke Lashon Kodesh. What in the world is Porkan doing in Shemona Esrei? Says Rav Soloveitchik, Porkan is a very important word. How would you translate it in Lashon HaKodesh? Geula. Pidyon. Oh, we can't use that word. Can't say that word. Because we know Chanukah came about through Chashmonaim. Purim came about through Mordechai and Esther. And we have a principle that Geula is only associated with God Almighty, only with the Ribbon Shalom. There cannot be any human connection to Geula. We say, if you daven Ashkenaz, you say, Mibaladecha, Ein Lanu Melech, Goyel, Umayshia. And if you say Sfard, Ela Ota. There's only one Redeemer. When it comes to redemption, when it comes to other things, Nisim, Gevurais, Teshuais, Melchamais, anyone could do that. Geula ufeduye Hashem. The Medrash says, V'loi melech HaMashiach, V'loi peduye Eliyahu, Umi baladecha ein lanu melech goyel elata. God's the only goyel. So you're going to thank Hashem al anisim yala geula? You're not going to be able to say, B'mei Madasiyom ben Yochanan Kohen Gadol. You're not going to be able to say, B'mei Mordechai Esther. You want to say, B'mei Mordechai Esther? You can't say geula. Geula and people don't go together. When it comes to Geula belongs solely to God. The entire mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, there's no mitzvah to say the story. You're saying over the events of Geula. What's the bracha we make? There's a big kasha. We're going to talk about it on Shabbos. The main mitzvah of the night of the Seder is what? Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why don't we make a bracha? Most Rishonim say we do. The bracha is Asher Ge'alanu. So we're talking about Geula. So you want to know why Moshe's name is not in the Haggada? He can't be in the Haggada. That's the principle of salvation. Ein lanu melech goyel elot. The same way when we talk about Mordechai, when we talk about this is different than Ramat Salma. I think it's a little bit, a little nuance of difference. The same way when we say Bimei Chashmonaim, you can't say Geula. So in the Haggada, when you say Geula, you can't say Moshe. But you'll ask, but we do say Moshe. But what pasuk do we use? That's why we dafka pick. Yeah, we don't want to leave Moshe Rabbeinu out altogether. That's what I would say. We're not going to leave him out altogether. You know the one pasuk we say? Vayaminu Bashem. And what's Moshe? Moshe's Avdai. That's the one pasuk you could say. That is definitely a pasuk in the Chumash. But what does that have to do with the Haggada? Okay. I thought so. Okay. But on Shvi Shel Pesach Azriel, we're going to say that, we're going to lane that. I bet you lane Oz Yasher. What?
I'll leave it.
You're going to lane it? Okay, very good. So, we're talking tonight about the midah of Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrai mevi gu'lo la'olam. Mesilas Yesharim brings in his explanation of the midah of anivos that there were many great people in history, because they took credit for themselves, they lost good things. Nehemiah, by the way, the Gemara asks, majority of Sefer Ezra and Nehemiah was written by Nehemiah, but we don't call it Nehemiah, we call it Ezra. Why don't we call it Nehemiah? Says the Gemara, because Nehemiah took credit for himself, he lost the name of the Sefer. Now, Chida asks, this is just a side point, but nowadays we do call it Ezra Nehemiah. So why did Nehemiah get it back? So the Chida says, Al Pi Kabbalah, are you ready for this? Ezra was Nisgalgel as Rabbi ben Azariah. Nehemiah was Nisgalgel as Rabban Gamliel. Nehemiah took credit for himself. Rabban Gamliel was very tough. And that's why Rabban Gamliel was demoted. The same way Nehemiah was demoted. But then Rabban Gamliel asked Rabbi ben Azariah for forgiveness. And Rabban Gamliel was reinstated. And once Rabban Gamliel got his kapara, so then Nehemiah got a kapara. So later on in history, even though the Gemara says we call it Sefer Ezra, later on in history, because of the Soid HaGilgul, Nehemiah made a comeback. And we have an interesting chiddush on that. Because if you look in Sefer Nehemiah, how many times did Nehemiah say, give me credit, Zachar li Hashem l'toiva? 3 times. How many times in Shas did Rabban Gamliel, was he overbearing over Rabbi Yeshua? 3 times. And there are other similarities as well. One of them is Rabban Gamliel dealt with the issue of Amoni Umayavi, and if you look in Sefer Ezra Nehemiah, so did Nehemiah. Okay, but we're left with one question over here, and that is, so Moshe Rabbeinu is self-effacing. He says, it's all the Lord, it's all the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's not me. By the way, it's amazing. Parai calls Yosef, and he says, Yosef, I hear you know how to interpret a dream. What's the first thing Yosef says? Biladai. He didn't interpret the dream and then Parsha said, wow, how'd you do that? Biladai. Nah. That would be violating the principle we learned from the Sefer HaChinuch, who learned from the Malachim, that you can't even give the impression for a moment that it's yours. You want to hear a great answer? You say, yeah. Who says that? I saw in the Chasam Sofer. You say, what's wrong? I quoted but the person for a second thought you could actually think of something on your own. You need to say immediately, actually I can't think of anything on my own. But here's the $1 million question. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he gives all the credit to Rebbeinu Shalom. So let's look how the Torah ends. Ulechol artzai, ulechol ayorach hazaka, ulechol hamayra hagadol, asher asa Moshe li'enei. How does the Torah end? All the signs, wonders, miracles, strong hand, and the Mayra Gadol that Moshe did. Wow, talk about Kol ha'omer davar b'shem amrai. The grand finale of the Torah is everything in this book, you know who did it? Moshe did it. So that contradicts everything we learned tonight, and says Rabbi Salman, that's because we have no idea how to read a simple pasuk in Chumash. What does the word asa mean? Asa doesn't mean, here, Avram Avinu went to get the cow, V'yel ben habakar asher asa. The cow, Avram made the cow. He went to the cow factory, and he made a cow. Or Avraham, v'yes hanefesh asher asu b'charan. Avram made the people. He made them. Avram had a conveyor belt, and he was making people. The word asa in Hebrew does not mean to make. What does it mean? It means lehachin. It means to prepare. This ben habakar, the Ramban says asher asa, that Avraham prepared. This hanefesh asher asu, the people that Avraham prepared them. La soy Shabbos. You make Shabbos. You created Shabbos. You're the Almighty. You made Shabbos. You prepared for Shabbos. The word Asiya in Lashon HaKodesh means Hachana. Says the Torah ends exactly with this point. You want to know who Moshe is? Tell you who Moshe is. All the signs, all the wonders that God sent in Egypt, the mighty hand, Moshe prepared Klal Yisrael to appreciate it. That's who Moshe was. Asher asa Moshe le'einei Yisrael, says Ramban, heichin av oisam. He prepared them. And therefore, Rav Matisyahu Solomon says that the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not in the Haggada, we're not being an ingrate to Moshe. It's not that he's not the main character. No, that's precisely why he's the main character. Because he attributed everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he didn't take any credit for himself. He was the ultimate, maybe, Omer Davar B'Shem Amrai. He was the ultimate vehicle to bring about Geula, just like Esther brought about Geula because she was Omer Davar B'Shem Amrai. Moshe Rabbeinu had this midah. Now we understand, by the way. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he kills a Mitzri, and then Torah says, okay, time out, let's take a commercial for like 60 years. Now I'm going to tell you a story here. The Jews are wallowing, languishing in Egypt. We're waiting for them to get out. Then Moshe goes to Midian. He's spatzering around the well. He meets some Midianite ladies. They're being attacked. Moshe saves them. He schmoozes with his father-in-law, the priest. Back to the story. What do we need this commercial for? Why is there a commercial in Parsha Shemailah? We have like this side story. The Jews are being, we start off, they're being beat, they're being massacred, they're being destroyed, they're crying out, okay, time out. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to go hang out by a well in Midian. Okay, now he's back. No, the Jews are wallowing, they're languishing. Who's going to do the job? Who's going to take them out? We can't get anybody. We need someone to prove themselves that they should be a worthy vehicle to Megula. So how could we know who's going to be a worthy vehicle? Only someone in their private life who, when asked in a question in a private way, thank you for saving me, will say, no, it's not me. It was Ribbon Shalom. Oh, okay, get back to Egypt. You're the guy. You're the man. Let's bring you back. Now Moshe Rabbeinu is ready to be the Goyal Yisrael. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu, his name is not in the Haggada. That's the ultimate shvach of Moshe Rabbeinu. And even though he's there once, but as we explained, the one time he appears, it's that Moshe Avdai, that Moshe has worked hard, that everyone should recognize that he is on a level playing field with them, and therefore they could all sing together. And we added the idea based on Rav Soloveitchik that in the context of the book of Geula, we cannot have attribution to Basar V'Dam. So it's really like opposite angles. Rabbi Solomon is saying that for the shvach of Moshe Rabbeinu's greatest accolade was that he took himself out of the picture and he was so self-effacing, so that all the attention is on Hashem. And another way to look at it is, since the Haggada is recognizing Hashem's Geula in such a context, we cannot focus on anybody other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Okay, again, thank you everybody for coming. You could join us an hour before Mincha in the holy moving vehicles on Peninsula and Oakland Avenue. The 3 trailers, the Hachud HaMeshulash, they're held together by 3 strings. The Hachud HaMeshulash, Loi B'Mehera Yinate. And Be'ezus Hashem, see you next Wednesday night. We have really good stuff on the Haggada. Wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos, Haggadol, Shalom. Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.